Hello, Judy from Thistledew Creations here. And I just finished the videos where I made these Love Is Valentine's journaling cards. And I thought I would continue on with the Love Is, but I'm going to make a little journal with pink and coffee dyed paper. This is avocado dyed paper that I got in a swap. And so I've found some craft cardstock. I think this was a package of some sort, and I cut it to I just squared it up basically and ended up with a cover that is about 4 inches by 7.5, and it has a 1/4 inch spine on it. So this is just I collaged on one side of a cereal box or something. It's fairly thick. So it's just music paper and plain paper and a little bit of music lyrics here. So I thought I would just get a few pages together and do a little signature, and I was alternating coffee dyed with stenciling. For the Valentine's theme, I want my first page to be roses, and then I'll do a pink page, and this all has to be cut down, and then another plain coffee dyed page. And then this pink page has a little more going on, a little bit of yellowish or coffee dyed coloring and some speckles. And then another kind of plain coffee dyed page. And then another pink page, which I've already torn the edges. And then this page is coffee dyed that I've stenciled on the corners. And rather than cutting it to size, I thought I would fold a pocket in and make it like a pocket in the middle. On this rose page, I did something that I haven't done before, and when I folded it in half, I had excess hanging out the other side. So I did what I would call a pleat. It's not deep enough to tuck anything into, so it could be glued right down, but I left it loose and just glued it at the end. So basically just folding the paper back and forth. I can show you. I'll show you on just a piece of pink paper, regular pink paper. I started playing before hubby went outside for the afternoon, just to kind of figure out what I wanted to do. So to do this, I basically had this situation where I'd fold it over to make a page in a signature, and I had this excess sticking out. So I wanted to fold it over and make a pocket. It's still kind of too deep to be a pocket, right? Not impossible, but it's a little deep for my liking to be a pocket on this page. So then I just went back, fold it back again, and then fold forward again and just leave a little bit of that one underneath showing. And then you're getting kind of a pleated effect. And like I said, you can glue all that down, or you don't have to. Do one more. So just give yourself, it kind of uses up the excess paper and leaves you with just a tuck spot instead of a pocket that's too deep for the page. And then I just took the tacky glue and I kind of glue each flap down of the pleat, and then glue the whole thing down. I'll use this for something else. It's too bright pink for this project, I think. So just a couple little dabs of glue, and then squeeze out the excess, and that's going to glue down fairly firmly. So that leaves you with just a tuck spot, but the look of the pleats. And you could add some lace along the edge or something, that would look pretty. But that's just something I just sort of thought up. I haven't seen it. I just thought of it, so I did it. So that's my little pleated tuck spot there. And it is kind of like you can see the pleats on the inside. So it might be a little bit finicky for getting things to slide in and out without getting caught on the pleats. If that was a problem, you could always, before you glue it right down, maybe I'll just do it so that it doesn't become a problem for this project. Just take a piece of paper and glue it right over all of that, which will also firm up that edge. So to do that, I'm gonna tear an edge off of one of these pages that I know is too wide. This is a new tear ruler that I got. From Temu. Just sort of first time I'm using it really. And then I'll just glue that. It's not wide enough. I'm going to use a piece of this pink. And just to make sure that it's wide enough, I'm going to put this underneath there. And then I'll make it just short of the page. I'm going to cover that with glue stick. You could tell I've already been crafting before I started this video because everything is everywhere. So this glue stick is gonna give it a good overall stickiness. And then I'll still put the tacky glue around the edges so this doesn't wanna lift up. And all that's going to do is encase the backside of those pleats so they don't cause a problem with things going in and out of the envelope. And then I'm just making sure that you won't see the pink because it's a little bright. Just rub that down. I do have a bone folder here, so I'll give that a good pressing. And then this will still fold back. You won't see the pink. Actually, you can see it a little bit there. So I'm going to ink that edge, cover it up. This is kind of a rose gold brown, so that'll blend in well. And then I'll ink this white edge here with it too. Everything's a little bit squishy from all that glue, even though it's not a very wet glue. Still. And then that can be glued down as a tuck spot. And that firming up that edge of the tuck spot is not a bad idea anyway, because if things are being put in and out of it all the time, it'll get torn. This way it'll be a little bit reinforced. Okay, so that's basically the front page of the book and the back page of the book. So actually it has to be something pretty skinny, like a tag, that will go in there because you're not going to be able to get anything wider in there. So probably not the best spot for it, actually, but we'll go with it. It was just an idea that came to me, so I tried it. Okay, so we've got our journal cover. We've got our pages kind of figured out. I haven't got them all sized, but let's focus on decorating the cover before we put the pages in. So I've got my little 1/4 inch spine there, you can see, and that's cracked because this is all collage, old music paper, so that has cracked. So once I sew my signature in, I plan to cover the spine with either some paper or some lace or something. In fact, I see some lace right here that might do the job really nicely. Nice cream colored lace that'll go around there nice. So let's round our corners. I'm use the medium size corner rounding punch. not terribly planned out, but I just want to do a similar collage to the other ones that I did, but just on the front of a journal. I may not even get around to putting those sheets in today. We'll see. Might have to be video number 2. So let's pick out our Love Is character thing. I've got some that are already inked, and I would plan to use them first. Telling him you love him this much, letting him finish the story you started, and trusting her to drive your antique car. I want to save that one for my dad. He never lets anyone drive his car. Doesn't matter how much he loves them. Not giving away the punchline to his joke. That one kind of goes along with the letting him tell the story you started. So I'm going to ink that one up. And I'm just going to do similar collage on the front. I'm going to I think I'm going to make a mark where that lace will come to, so that I don't put anything too close to the edge that will end up being covered by the lace. Because I know that's what I want to do, is put lace down the spine. And I think this one just makes sense to use. So I'll use the more scallopy edge on the front of the journal. And I think this is going to be the front. This says, can she bake a cherry pie? Did she bid you to come in, Billy boy, Billy boy? Yeah, I don't want to cover that. And I like my writing to be going to the bottom of the writing on the right side. It's just a quirky thing that I like. And so I'm going to try to get this center of the flower centered on the spine. About there. So that means that this lace is going to come to about here. I'm just going to mark it with a pencil lightly, kind of in underneath where it will be, not so you won't be able to see it. Just so that when I place one of these, I'm not like underneath it. I want to be over here. Okay, so, because that's going to be last. The lace going on will be one of the last things I do, but I want to keep it in mind. Okay, so telling him you love him this much, I think there's a blank spot here that can be. And I'm going to use some of the same papers and some of this pink paper because it's in the book. So I'll use some of that as well. I really liked this kind of lacy one, and I like this one with the roses. So I think the roses are going to end up being a tuck spot inside. But I'll use this lacy one on the cover here. I'll continue to cut myself a rectangle from it here, rough rectangle. And I'm going to ink that. I'm going to ink it with pink since it's on the dauber on the handle. And I talked about that in the last video too, is if you're indecisive, like I'm using 2 colors of ink. I'm using pink and retro brown, pure palette clay shades is the 2 colors of ink that I'm playing with today. And I only have one handle. And so if I can't decide which color to ink something, I'm just going with whichever one's on the handle at the time. I'm not usually too indecisive, but sometimes I can be, so that solves that problem. And I think I'm going to layer that up sort of like that. I want to be mindful of these marks that I made for the scallops. And actually, I could go a little close to them, as long as I'm not going to be way in underneath them. I wouldn't mind if that ends up quite close to that or even overlapping it, but I wouldn't want it covering up half the writing. So I'm going to go about there. So what I'm going to do here is try this layering technique where I kind of do top down. Lay that onto this so I can still see a bunch of it. And then I'm going to glue this. Oops, it doesn't have a cap on it. Grab for the cap and grab the glue. So that's a fair good bit of glue stick, and then the tacky glue around the edges and through the middle. Because it's got that glitter on there, it's not a very smooth surface. I want to give it some extra glue. And then I'll place this just there. Telling him you love him this much. And I think I'd like a doily included. I wasn't able to work a doily into the last project because I kind of waited too long, but I think I'll do a half or a quarter of a doily. Cut them with my ripple scissors usually. I think a half is going to be too big. I think I'll do a quarter. I do quarters quite often. Always just pre-cut them into quarters for my, when I decorate my envelopes to send in the mail. It's the first thing I put on. I did a mass make of them. I guess that's something I could show you, is decorating some envelopes or Happy Mail. Always thinking of new things to show you. I don't do everything on camera, but then I think, well, some newbies especially might need all the ideas. So maybe I'll do some of that. I'll just give that a little extra pink. Makes it really pretty. Very pretty, actually. And we'll get some glue stick on the back. I have to be kind of gentle. This is a vintage paper doily. And you don't want to wreck the little pieces. I still put a little bit of tacky glue. And I'll do it like right around the edge especially, so it doesn't lift up. The glue stick will do a good job. And then I just clean off the cap with the, to get rid of the excess. And this leaves a lot of the glue stick on this page, but it still works for this. So I'm gonna put this, so I think I'll put it up here in this corner like this. And you can't help but get glue on your fingers unless you're gonna use your silicone tool on it. And that's not really showing up all that good, but I think that once you get a bunch of layers, it still adds to the effect. So I definitely want to put some sort of edging on it. I'm gonna put a little piece of the pink, and I think I'll use this tearing ruler again. I'm trying to get used to it. It's a little bit, it's bigger than my other tear ruler, that's for sure. I think I'll go across here. So tear that about there. That's still my pink ink on there. I'm just going to ink the edges of that, even though it's not going to show up a lot. It does shade it a little bit. Around the outside of this, I'm thinking I might want to do some brown, or it's more like a, it really is more of a rose gold than a brown. Looks pretty brown on the dauber, but on the paper it almost has a metallic effect. I'm going to go across the base of the doily, and that might end up being like a title or something across there. It's going to disappear under the lace, but that's okay. Bring it over to the edge of the doily here. And then up the other side of the quarter of a doily, I'll try a different scrap of paper. Got some coffee dyed. I could do that kind of as a preview of what's inside. So I tear that on an angle at the top, and maybe on an angle at the same angle at the bottom. See how that looks. Just need a slightly smaller angle. There we go. And I like that dark edge that's right along the edge of the paper, so I'm going to leave that. I'm going to have these kind of crisscrossing. And I didn't even ink that because it's coffee dyed. It doesn't really need it. And then I think this is going to need like a rosette or something. Actually, I've got these postage stamps that I just got in a swap. So I think I'm gonna, they're nicely on a dark brown background. So I'm gonna cut fairly close to the edge of them, but leave the dark brown background, and that's gonna be in lieu of ink because I don't have any really dark brown ink here today. So that can go sort of in the corner like that. Maybe even down further. And then maybe a couple of buttons or a piece of actual lace or something. Let's glue that with, or not glue it, ink it with the brown, even though it's already dark brown. Just in case, yeah, there's a bit of a white edge on the paper. So I'll just take that white edge away. And I'll glue this down. See, does it have a right side? There is some writing there. It says Scott's Roses, so I want it this way. Actually like the way that fits better anyway. Comes further up onto the lace up here. Looking good so far. And then maybe some bling, since we're on the front cover and we can afford a little bit of bling as far as thickness. The bottom drawer has, oh, green. Don't want green. And mauve isn't quite right either. So it might have to be either pink. Oh, there's pink pearls. I think, actually, they're kind of mauvey pink, but they'll do. Maybe with a little bit of brown ink on them. Finding this ink doesn't change the color of plastic things like the Tim Holtz ink does. And I usually like 3s when I do little blingy bits like that. I'm going to use some of those too. So I'm just making sure that you can see. Stood up for a second there. I'm going to put this up against the coffee dyed. Because this is going to be on the cover, it won't matter the thickness of the pearls. Just make sure they're running straight. Some of that excess glue out of there. There we go. Yeah, it's a bit different, more mauvey than corally, but we'll go with it. And then I've got these roses again that I could use down here, but that's going to be covered with lace, so let's do them down here. And they're pretty sticky. Maybe I'll just stick them down. If they end up needing glue later, I can do that. So I like the way they're positioned there, kind of off to the side, filling in this corner gap. And we'll save those rhinestone ones for something else. So that's looking cute so far. Let's do some brown inking around the edge of the book. It's a very pinky brown compared to what it looks like in the ink pad. It doesn't look all that different from the pink ink, but it's definitely different. And that just really gives it a nice mellow look. Oh, look at that. Right up. We maybe can get a look at what this was. I have a feeling it's definitely a package of something. It's got a glossy finish on it, so that's probably why this isn't sticking the greatest. So it's always a good idea to go over glossy surfaces with some sandpaper or an emery board. It helps the glue stick easier, stick better. Okay, and then with the scalloped lace down the front, that's how that's gonna look. I think it needs a whole lot more, but I do have the brown brown check. Maybe a strip of it here. What's this covering up if I put it there? Secrets They'd Tell, Whispering something. Bliss and Love. I don't really want to cover that. Maybe I'll put something just up in here. A little spot of this with brown ink, because that's what's on the dauber right now. Is that the right shape? I can overlap this pink. Yeah, I like that. And then I can find maybe a paper rose or something to go on there. Or a heart. I don't have any real hearts anywhere yet, just flowers. I don't want another postage stamp, I don't think. No, I want maybe a pink rose. So unfortunately my flowers are at the bottom of the pile of boxes. A pile of decorative boxes here with all different types of bling, mostly laces and fabrics. I do have ribbon roses. I don't think I want like a flat sticker one because it's on the cover. I would rather have it be something more dimensional. I'll use the dimensioned ones where I can. I do have some really nice three-dimensional paper roses. That might be nice, but it just needs to be browned up a bit. I need to cut that off in its wire, so I'm not using my good scissors. There's a little yellow flower that might go well with that postage stamp. The ribbon roses can go back. And even this little guy can go back. Maybe a leaf. I've got these leaves that are kind of like an ultra suede fabric in a nice pale green. I have a craft lamp over there if I'm not careful. So let's do this coming down. And that, well, that's maybe a little two-dimensional. If I flatten it out maybe, like that. I love these paper roses, but sometimes they're hard to use in junk journaling. They'd be great on a wreath or something. I just need to flatten out at least the bottom petals so I can glue it down. And then just flatten everything just a little bit, but keep some dimension. And then the rosebud part is pretty, like it's not gonna flatten, but that's all right. This might take some time to set up. So I'm gonna get my leaf down here. Putting quite a bit of glue because it's fabric. It's gonna absorb in to the fabric. So that can be overlapping the pink. And then this can go there. That's going to be pretty. I know what else I could have used was that, and actually maybe I will. That's a bit overkill, I think. I've already got glue on it, but I just thought of the perfect thing. Stuff that G. Kerr uses all the time. It's like little roses, but it's like a lace or ribbon or something like that. And I know some of you get really frustrated when I stop to look for things, but this is life. This is how crafting really works. Here's the stuff. It's not as dimensional, but I think it's the perfect color. I think that's what I want to do. Now this leaf is maybe a bit big for it, but if I do it sort of like this, cover up part of the leaf and go right up. Yeah, give it some presence. So I'll cut it off about here. And go up like that. Now, does it have a good side? Both sides are pretty good. I'd say that is the bad side. If anyone has some three-dimensional roses that aren't quite as three-dimensional as that one I was going to use, let me know where to look for them. There. I do like that. To get that glue off that ultra suede. I like Seinfeld's suede jacket. Okay. I might need more of that, so I'm going to leave it out. And do I need one of these little yellow flowers somewhere? Maybe there. Something with a bit of dimension. I can overlap the postage stamp a bit. There, I'm liking that. Very pretty. And I don't do much on the backs usually of my books, but maybe just a little bit of collaging with the papers that I'm using, just to keep the color flow. So I've got this little piece of pink, and it's not inked, so let's ink it. It's already got brown on, so I'll ink it in brown. And do similar kind of collage like I did on the front, but maybe not with all the niceties added, just to kind of continue the theme of the decor. So this one, almost time for a new glue stick. Now I know that my lace is going to be about there, so I'm going to put this paper about here. It's okay if it's in under the lace a bit. And then I'm going to use some more of this lacy paper. Make sure I don't have a scrap of it that I could be using. I do have scraps of most of the other ones. I'm going to do kind of a strip of it again. Maybe I'll let it go out to the side like that. Just take this bottom edge off. And ink all of that in brown. A lot of people ask, do you start with the cover or do you start with the pages? There's really no right answer. It's whatever grabs you first. And I tell people that all the time at work too. I'm a kitchen designer. And people always want to know, well, should I pick my countertop, my flooring, my cabinets, my backsplash? Which one should I pick first? And I just say, whichever one grabs you first. That you can't live without, that you absolutely must have. That's what you start with, and then you pick everything else from there. Trying to do it any other way doesn't make sense to me, because otherwise you might pick a countertop first and then find out that the backsplash you absolutely love doesn't go with it. So always pick whatever you love first and then go from there. And this I'm going to have up a little bit and overlapping. And then a strip of the brown. Check. I've got this strip from the edge and I've got a smaller bit here. Don't think that small one is big enough. I've got another whole sheet of it, but I would rather not cut into it yet if I don't have to. I think I'm going to use this. I'll just have to use the ripple scissors and work around this hole that's in it. So I'm going to just go like this and kind of give myself a raggedy top edge. Make it look a little more random than it actually is. And along the bottom, I think I'll do a angled edge as well. Ink it with this brown. I think that's what I used on the front one. And then the tacky glue. Didn't even preview where I'm going to put that. I just did it. I think I want, go put it down in the middle here. Inside corner is looking a little awkward to me, so I'll just cover it up. And then maybe another piece down here. I've got this little piece. That white edge is a little wide. So that's why I don't throw these little scraps away till the end of the crafting session. And then I'll just take the ripple scissors and just cut some little notches in that straight edge so that it's not so perfect. It looks a little bit more like it was torn. Can't take much off because I don't have much of the pattern. But that'll help. And then again, just glue it down here. And that can be more like that. And I could put, I don't want to cover up these lyrics, so I'm not going to put a tuck spot or anything on the back. Just didn't want it to be quite so plain. Maybe another postage stamp on the back would be okay. Down in the bottom corner here. And then I can sign my Thistledew Creations somewhere too. I'll get one of my little labels and show you how I mark most of my things. I like that little touch of really dark brown that that's given me. And again, that has writing. I'll keep it up, and then that's going to be in under the lace, so I got to be careful not to put it too far over. I want to come further than the pink, just in case it is showing. And then I'm going to grab one of my little labels and go ahead and label this. I keep my labels with my artist trading card stuff. These are just printed out on coffee dyed paper, and then I cut them out with my ripple scissors. I'm just going to straighten this one up. I cut these often in front of the TV in the dark, so they don't always get cut perfectly. Put some ink around the edge of it so it blends in with the project. I have them on white paper and coffee dyed paper. That's what I use most of, coffee dyed. And then I'll just put this here like that, down fairly low. I would put it up the side, but I know there's going to be ink, or not ink, lace there. So I'm not putting it up the side because of the lace. It would just get lost. Way down low and just covering up the postage stamp, the corner of it. And then just in the smallest of writing, I'm going to write my signature as well. Just above, and the date, 25. So cover, mostly done. $43 minutes. So let's leave it at that, and I will figure out my signature, come back and sew it in for you in another video. Thank you very much for watching. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and most of all, have a great day.